So to me, accountability is something concrete. It is not a dream, though we can dream about what it could look like. It is rather, to me, a set of actions we can take, a practice, ongoing practice, even an art. At the top of this sermon this morning, I actually want to invite you to take a moment of reflection with me. It could just be me up here talking this whole time, but why not we just take some time to be a little participatory here. Take a moment of reflection with me, pause and consider for a moment. Who are your people? Who are your people? What are their names? And I feel like the names of your people are so important that if it's available to you, if you're at home or if you're here, I want to invite you to just take a moment, if you have a pencil or a pen around you, to just make a list of those names. So yeah, if you got it, either on your order of service, a scrap of paper around you. If you have your phone handy, you can always type it into your phone. For folks both online and here in person, let us actually take a moment to really think about it. Who are your people? Who are the folks you feel responsible for and responsible to? Who are the folks you allow to care for you? Who are the people that you reach out to when you're in need of care? Who reaches out to you when they're in need of care? I'll just leave some silent space for us to make our lists. Now, I know we're not going to get every name down, but really we do need to honor their names and look at those lists. So I wonder, as you look over your list, as you sit with this question, who are your people? As you think about your experiences with them, I wonder if these are all people that you've always gotten along with all the time. I wonder if there have been moments when the people on your list have hurt you, or even moments when you have hurt them. Sometimes in the heat of really deep hurt, someone falls off our list, which might be a soft way of putting it. Sometimes I feel like we take pretty extensive actions to erase them from our lists or cross them off. I wonder if there's someone who comes to mind for you who is not on your list because of some sort of conflict or struggle. Perhaps they still belong on your list now. Or perhaps it would be beneficial to take their name into your prayer and meditation life to see if they should be on your list or not. Or perhaps there is a need for more accountability between you two. Perhaps there are still things to be worked through, things you might need to process, old wounds, conversations that feel both possible and impossible. Discernment about who your people are, about who we are accountable to, it is a really important part of really owning accountability. This list matters. It is both your circle of influence and care and your community. It is the people you have the deep joy of loving and caring for, as well as the people you have hurt and those who have likely hurt you. Being in human relationships is complicated. Being a human in relationship is complicated. We are Unitarian Universalists. Our shared call towards covenant, towards making promises with one another and with our source, is a theology of accountability. In mutual relationship, we know of a God of our understanding, and we know one another. The covenantal relationship at the roots of both of our traditions was, of course, originally with the Christian God of our ancestors' understanding, a covenant whose foundations rest in the Jewish tradition. And that covenantal understanding has expanded to be both and. To be both about the promises we make to our source and sustenance, however you choose to define that in this space and in your own truth, and to be about the promises we make to one another. Tender and fragile promises that only humans can make. Promises we truly commit to, but also know that we have broken them again and again and again and again. It is our way. No one is here to be perfect, to perfectly promise something and to perfectly make commitments to one another. If you want to find a group of folks learning to be perfect together, church just might not be the place for you. What we promise to one another matters still. And what we do when those promises are broken, that is especially what matters. I love that Mia Mingus is inviting us into accountability as something we seek, because we know it is an integral part of our liberation and our wholeness as human beings. I love this because too often being held accountable means punishment for so many of us. It means being forced to admit something or even having to suffer some consequence. I feel like accountability has almost become synonymous with sort of a policing mentality in a way. Mia Mingus reframes this to say accountability can be something we seek because we care about one another. It can be something we seek to heal from our own shame and blame. It can be something that we remain open to, rather than closing off and succumbing to that hot, wet blanket of shame that keeps us silent and not saying anything and hoping that this moment of hurting another person will just go away. Have you ever been there? I have, for sure. Moments when I just wish that this situation would pass. And that the painful experience of having to look someone in the face or be over the phone with them or be in relationship with them just did not have to exist anymore. To speak up and own when we have caused harm. To seek out ways to repair and even transform that harm can be especially freeing. When we push past the fears of what we have done, these practices can shape and change our experiences. To engage in accountability honestly and tenderly has the capacity to heal our shame and trauma, and even to heal our communities. And I really appreciate her focus on our relationships with ourselves as the root source of our relationship with others. If we do not treat ourselves well, we cannot extend that same health and accountable relationship to others. If we abandon ourselves, we will likely abandon others. If we cannot bear to even make a mistake in public, we will likely be judgmental and unforgiving when others do the same. To be in accountable relationship, to truly live into our shared sense of covenant, it must begin at home, in our own bodies, in our own minds, in our hearts, in our relationship to ourselves. It must begin with knowing what we need and seeking it, finding it for ourselves within. We cannot make nor keep promises to others if we cannot make and keep promises with ourselves. Are you on that list of people to whom you are accountable? When I ask you, who are your people? Do you think of yourself as one of your people? I hope that this week you will return to this list. And I wonder who else may also come to mind as your people. Let this be a living list. Let us think through our week about who we come in contact with, who our people are, who we care for, and who cares for us. Mia Mingus writes, accountability is not a destination. It is a skill we can build and practice. It is an art, a craft, an alchemy we can learn how to wield, just as we have learned how to wield hurt and shame. If accountability is a skill we value, then we must make room and make commitments to practice it ourselves each day, each week, and each year. We can start small and build up our skills from there. We can start with our everyday relationships. And those closest to us, our families, our friends, our partners, our coworkers, the earth. I wonder where you can start today and even tomorrow to build practices of accountability. I wonder where you can make the first tender move to ask someone for what you need, to vocalize a hurt you have experienced, to apologize for some form of harm you have caused. She reminds us this is not solely about the big picture conflict and the big issues that come to mind. It is about folks we interact with every single day. It is about our own desire for liberation. It is about those practices in our smaller communities that can then be brought to ever larger circles of influence and mutual care. It is about treating ourselves well and showing up for ourselves as our best and bravest advocates. Dear ones, this morning, let us release practices rooted in shame and fear and embrace accountability as our covenantal responsibility, and just out of our desire for a more rich and fulfilling life. Let us seek out opportunities to name our experiences and our needs as ways to be in accountable relationships to ourselves. And as we grow together as a worshiping community in one space and on one Zoom account, let us learn to lean on one another and to be in different relationship, to heal and to grow together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so.